Hi, everybody. Give us just a second. It's been a season. All right.
Hi, everybody. This is Oph. You are watching Simply SCAdian, no title required. And we have an awesome guest today, but I'm going to do my geek girl stuff and hand it over to Lucas. Take it away, Lucas.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you had a great summer. I hope you enjoyed lots that the SCA had to offer. I do know that I run into a bunch of you at Penzic. It was super cool that you came up and said something. And it's nice to know for both of us that the show is out there and it's being so well received. If you're new to us or if you need a reminder, I love to hear myself talk. So we're going to talk about Simply Skadian, no title required, where we want to hear from you. Now, again, this is, we had a wonderful talk in the season closer with some peers and whatnot, and it was talking about the unprecedented rapier tournament and whatnot. It was great. That's not the mission statement of the show
No,
necessarily.
no, no. It was
We
a
want
crown tournament
it
fought
was
with rapier style.
sorry. All right. Well, there. See, that's why she gets paid twice as much as I did. All right, to just keep me in line. Okay, there, so that I don't get drummed out of the SCA for saying the wrong thing. So here we go. But and it was great, and it was a wonderful conversation. But that's not really the mission statement here. If you've been following us, you know that our mission here is to find people throughout the SCA who may not have been granted their peerage yet. They might not be working towards it. They may be new but very knowledgeable in their area. And we want to talk to those people too. We want to shine a spotlight on them. We want to give them a forum to showcase that there are lots of people in the SCA with a lot of different knowledge and a lot of things that we can take away from it. It has been my educational source as still considering myself a newbie. I've met some great people. I want to meet more great people, and that's where you come in. You have to recommend us people that you think from your corner of the world that we should talk to. And again, we want to talk about everything. We want to talk about combat. We want to talk about arts and sciences. We want to talk about performance. Everything that you're doing out there, we would love to give you a platform to really come forward and talk about it. Now, tonight, our guest is something that I don't necessarily think we've talked about on the show. We've talked to performance people in the past, but I think the multifacetedness of tonight's guest is really going to be something special. He's looking around. He's somebody who I personally have worked with his material, and I was honored to do it. It was some of the best stuff I've ever done, and it was really a joy. So tonight we'd love to welcome Tarmach to the show. I'm going to give his bio a little bit here. 30 years in the society, been a merchant, fencer, and an archer, have started 16 events, two of which he created. All right. Written essays for Tournaments Illuminated, and has an essay in the current Known World Handbook. He's acted in several Penzigs with the Known World players, for whom he has also written plays. We're definitely going to talk about that tonight. Photographed many events. You've probably seen them over the years, and the results have appeared on the cover of TI and in the SCA media pages, the Mid-Realm newsletter, and in the archives of several baronies. Has been baronial champion, and his highest honor has been the award of the Dragon's Heart, and he is also protege to Master Philip the Pilgrim. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Simply Skating No Title Required, Tarmach. Welcome to the show,
Thank,
sir.
thank you. Thank you both of you for this opportunity. Chat.
So, first question. How did you find the SCA?
The flippant response, of course, is I looked under a rock and there it was. But my wife and I were escapees in 1989 from a place that was descending into chaos. But before then, when we were dating, we had a friend who was in this interesting hobby, and he showed up with a shield and a rattan sword to a gathering of friends. What is this? Okay. He mentioned SCA. That got filed in the back of our minds. We participated in a couple of the Los Angeles Ren Fairs, which was the mother source of all the Ren fairs, really. Um, and we were kind of getting that vibe, that let's go do this. This is kind of fun. Let's do the dress up. Let's hang out with these people. They're creative. They're interesting. When we left Los Angeles, um, as it was further decaying, um, we came here, and a year or two later, we met up with a gentleman who was our chiropractor and conversant, and we were chatting and mentioned about, oh yeah, we used to go to the Red Fair. Oh, he says, you got to check this group out. Listen, they're having this event over in Pennsylvania. It's not that far, and you should check it out. Okay, fine. Can we go for just a weekend? We've got a tent. Sure, go. Penzic War was our first SCA event, which I like to tell people, this is the deep end theory. If you get into the deep end, you'd better know how to swim. And that was our first experience, our first sense of the SCA. We're out on the Serengeti with a singles camp spot that they parked us in, and somebody casually strolled up. I don't know who this person was. I cannot recall who he was. And he said, welcome. You look like you might need help setting up. Let me give you a hand. And right there, that said everything. These are people that are giving of themselves. I didn't know him from Adam. He offered a hand. How lovely. What a lovely way to get introduced to this group. And off we ran.
So you're at that first Penzig. What were some of the? I mean, again, because I come from the Ren Fair world too. That was my gateway, into this as well.
Gateway drug,
What,
yes.
yeah, what were some of like the aha moments, that you brought into that, like walked around and was like, wow, I can't believe this. Because when you say deep end, Penzig, I think Penzig was my first thing too. I
Yeah.
Me
mean, it
too.
it really is deep end. So like what were those big moments that you can remember from that?
One thing that's consistent with all Penzics, and I describe this to people who are newer to the society, with Penzic, it's complete immersion. Um, People are on foot, they're in garb most of the entire time. They're in tents, whether it's modern or not. But, we're all in this same level. We are, a village that is distinct from the outside world. Um, People have their moments, but then nighttime comes and the drums come up and the torches are lit and you are transported. And that first event done right, you get home, you go to a grocery store, and your mind is like, what happened? Um, Walking around, I always love telling this one. I had to go see what the field battle looked like. I mean, I've seen it, there's people who fight, but field battle is field battle. And so I go out there and people are coming out to the field, they're putting on their armor, they're getting inspected, they're, chatting with each other, they're waiting for things to happen. And I hear music. I hear bagpipe music. And I look in the direction it's coming from. And here's a group of fighters, and they're like moving around this bagpiper. So I get closer. And they're dancing around the bagpiper, who is playing Hava Nagila. At which point I realized this is the level of weirdness I have needed in my life. I'm home.
Nice. So you are primarily known in the SCA as a photographer. When did you get into photography?
Oh gracious. I was hot and heavy into photography back in high school, back in cave number 16 in Los Angeles, near the tar pits. Uh, but it's always been a passion. I had wanted to become a vocation. Um, at that time, there was a major, probably premier School of Photography in Santa Barbara, just north of Los Angeles. Um, and I wanted to go, but my dad would not foot the bill. He wanted me to keep photography as an avocation. In retrospect, while that hurt at the time, I respect that. Photography is 20% getting the pictures, 80% running a business, getting the business. And I like taking the pictures. Um, and I especially I'm grateful for all the years in SCA that I've shot pictures because it allowed me to um, grow my skills. Certainly with the aid of my peer, who is one of the premier photographers of the Middle Kingdom, um, he's given me tools that I needed, and then I found some additional. He turned me on to using Photoshop Lightroom, for example. Um, and I'm ever grateful for that. But the opportunity, and I've always loved portraiture, um, the opportunity to have so many interesting people doing interesting things and documenting them and then giving back to the society and say, you know, here's a record of what we do and why we're so passionate about it. I try to capture that impassioned moment, that people are doing. One of my local friends who is a fighter, I have a picture of a group of fighters at one of the Penzics, and they're approaching their opponents. Um, and I re-examined that picture and I blew it up and found she was smiling. You're in battle, you're in armor, and you're approaching your opponent, and she's smiling like she's going to tea. And it's like, this is so cool.
Just forgive my ignorance. So
Please.
you take the pictures and there are a lot. Where does that primarily get sent? Like obviously you'd send it to the people that the barony or the whatever, but is there a central database? Does the SCA have like a place where that information can go and everyone can look at it? What
Not that
happens with
I've,
it?
yeah, Philip and I, Master Philip and I have discussed this, but there's not really been, oh, hello, Kitty. Um, there's not really been a exactly a central database. Um, we would wind up probably having to build our own AI center for that amount of data. Um, my pictures tend to get posted certainly on my barony's page, occasionally on another barony or two's page, and if it's a kingdom event, I will share it with my kingdom. Once in a while, I will post to the society page, um, primarily because, as I said, I want to share the joy of what we're doing. Like my Pensic pictures, I will send up to the society page.
Y'all talk to yourselves. I'm getting pinged right now, so I need to turn something off, but
Okay.
I don't know how to
Has
turn it on.
anybody, I mean, again, I think weird thoughts. Has anybody ever kind of asked you not to? Because I mean, again, you always hear this very hackneyed phrase of the "you're ruining my medieval experience by having the camera and having the modern equipment." Has anybody ever kind of like asked you to kind of not do that? Or
That's really a good and appropriate question. Years ago, that was the feeling. You're harshing my medieval mellow. Um, but what has happened in the last decade or so, and uh, is that people have suddenly realized you caught me at a moment which was very important to me. Um, Capturing knightings, for example, and things like that, and giving back good pictures for everyone to share. And suddenly we've been at this long enough, we being the photographers and the society itself, that people uh, are getting these pictures popping back up, for example, on Facebook that says, "Hey, remember this moment 10 years ago?" And it's like, "Oh, wow." Um, and they have this archive now. Um, Part of what changed also locally, I would say. Uh, Master Philip and one or two other people initiated a Mid-Realm Kingdom guild of photographers, of which I am proud to be. And um, when our guild received a purple Freddy um, in recognition of what we are doing, the game started to change for us. And there are still people who, not so much they're medieval mellow, but they are self-conscious about their appearance, and they ask me not to take their picture. And that's fine. I fully respect that.
What's a
If
purple
some
Freddy?
Oh, I have to remember I don't remember the exact uh description, but it is a service award, let's put it that way. A service award for things that you have done. Purple Freddy is a group uh award. Purple Fret is the individual award.
Okay.
if somebody was looking to get into that guild, do you have like a Facebook page or some other way of them to kind of get in contact with you and say like, "Hey, I do this in my corner of the world, but I didn't realize that there was this larger thing." Is there a way that they
There's a
could get in touch
Facebook
with you?
page, Mid-Realm Photographers Guild, or words to that effect. I believe that even, I think I've seen that East Kingdom even has started themselves a Photographers Guild.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they have one.
Okay. And some darn good pictures came out of East Kingdom this year from Penzic. I was looking on with envy because I wasn't at Penzic.
So the big reason that I mean we could talk about a lot of stuff, but I want to get into the meat of what connected us with having you as a guest, which is the
Right.
essay that you wrote.
Right.
Can you summarize the essay that you wrote and the points that you made in it for us?
A month ago, I released, in fact, a month ago today, I released onto the Mid-Realm Facebook page an essay that I had uh, penned while everyone else was at Penzic, entitled um, In Consideration of Dinosaurs. The topic was the longevity of people in the SCA. At its heart, what I said was that we're a society that is about to enter its 60th year, that we have second generation SCAdians who are turning gray already. Um, and yet there are those of the first generation who are still around, but it's not so much a question of we're getting older. Um, it's also that we have people who have become infirm for one reason or another, and therefore it's become difficult for them to be a participant. The thing to keep in mind for many of us is that phrase that keeps popping up. These people are my family of choice. And when you have to disconnect because of infirmity from family, that's wrenching. That's that's a whole Kubler-Ross level of grief that I can't do this anymore. What I was trying to encourage through this essay was to tell people, you know, we talk about service. Um, Service is very important, um, from uh, peers down to the newbies. We don't drill it into people, but we do mention it. It comes up during courts, for services done. And a service could be very well to seek out these people who haven't been around for a while, um, who, if you inquire, will tell you they miss the engagement, and see if there's a way that provide transportation, get them reconnected, help them. Um, One of the people I talked with, yeah, it's very difficult for her now, um, to be for any length at an event. She doesn't drive. She especially well, she drives a little, but she won't drive at night. Um, There's a lot of difficulties, but there's a huge store of information that is out there that's, still intact in these people. I'm helping care for another friend who has been a marvelous artist and does um, knitting work that's gorgeous and all that. And once she gets back her health after having a recent surgery, she wants to get back in. She needs someone to take her. We can do this. Why lose this store of information? I've I like to refer to my friends in the SCA as my living books. It's rather Ray Bradbury, it's true. Um, Fahrenheit 451 reference. But you go to a gathering of Scadians. It doesn't have to be an event, it could be a weekly meeting. And there's inevitably somebody there who knows about the metalworking and the cooking, and someone else who knows about woodworking or making an embroidery pattern, things like that. These are living knowledge bases. They're living texts, whether or not they've actually written this into a complete anachronist or an article in Tournaments Illuminated. These are touch points, and we have many of them, and we have those who we are losing because they're not present, and we can get them present.
In the month or so that that's been up, what has the reaction been like? What's your
It's
feedback been?
been it's been mild, but I've not had any negative reaction. I have people who have uh, definitely stated, yes, this is definitely on the mark. And I'd like to get somehow this essay out to a broader base, just to put this thought into people's minds that, hey, um, you're looking to do service, here's a service. You don't have to get your hands dirty or anything. You can be there for others. I mean, I suppose in a way it can be argued that I'm also looking towards my own future. I'm not old, um, and certainly I don't fit um, the description of that lean and slippered pantaloon. However, the Burnham Woods are marching off to Dunsinane, so I have to keep that in mind.
So
Well, I
how
think
would
it would
we
be
get in touch with, you know, I, I think, but what we're missing is a way to connect people with these these elders of the SCA. How would I even know that there's somebody in my area when I'm not overly active going to my local shire because we do this show, so I don't go to to Gwentarian meetings,
Yeah.
right? So how would I find out that there's an elder there? And I mean elder in the respectful elder of our world,
Well,
to help them.
using you as an example, you know who your more senior members in Gwentarian are. Um,
No, I
Brenda,
don't go to meetings, so I
you don't
don't
go to
know
me.
anybody.
Okay. Um,
But how would I find out? Because we have these younger people coming in
True.
who don't know these people. How do we connect them together?
Um, Perhaps, and I'm going to say right up front, I don't have all the answers set out, but I can suggest ideas. The one that first comes to mind is contact the seneschal or your local baron and baroness, um, and say, I'm interested in connecting, locating, and getting in touch with um, any of our group's more senior members um, who may need a hand. And maybe that will set wheels in motion. If not, maybe even kingdom level. I know the kingdom level officers have enough on their hands to do, but um, it's worth a try. Um, the officers locally, the officers of the kingdom, um, may be able to help um, direct the question and say, we haven't heard from X in a long time. They were very uh, much an influence uh, 15, 20 years ago. But yeah, they've fallen on hard times, and maybe you want to reach out to them.
Right. I mean, like for me, the example I think of is Countess Elise Catherine, who unfortunately lives an hour away from me.
Yeah,
So, I could only take her to events that are out west because she's an hour west from me.
yeah,
Right. And I'd be happy to take her to an event sometime if she wanted to go. But that's just because I know her and have her contact information that I could reach out to her.
yeah,
But I think what we need, and I'm definitely not suggesting you take this on. You have enough on your plate right now, but what we need, and perhaps someone watching the show will be inspired to find a way, and I don't mean just Facebook, but to find a way to organize to have all of our elders in the SCA connect with each other so they can talk, but also to connect them with younger people who are willing to take them to events, to go take them to coffee or take them to lunch.
yeah. And certainly, just that visit alone. That's one thing I've discovered with my my friend who is presently in rehab, uh, in also helping take care of her needs, her estates, etc. Um, just spending an hour talking SCA, amongst other things, makes them feel so connected. It's an amazing thing to witness. Um, as I said in an earlier comment, we're passionate about this stuff. A lot of people really um, are passionate about, the work and the exchange of ideas and the creativity. Oh dear God, the creativity in this society, which is what's driven me to do the level of things that I've done. And I'm not talking about the photography. I'm talking about sitting down and writing a play. Man, people that I was hanging around with and talking to, and I just got to a point where I came across some ideas and started building it together. Um, and I've had other people who have stepped up and said, okay, let me look at this and give you commentary. Zoph is one of those people. Um, and go back and take out the apostrophes and the thous and the these. Yeah, you're smiling. Um, and suddenly it's just uh it's magic. So yeah, this is what makes us passionate, certainly makes me passionate about this society, is the give and take that's free. I don't have to, I'm not paying for this. People aren't paying me, for the pictures that I put up. I'm happy to do this. I love doing this. Um, Someone had suggested creating, like a database or such. I'm a little wary of that because um, we're at a node point in um, our broader society's history that sharing personal information is kind of a squishy topic right now.
Right.
And
Well, I think
go ahead.
just listening to you guys, like one of the things that I would think of is we have a position in most baronies and in most places for outreach for new members. Something, it just seems to me like now it might be good to have that discussion on, like, somebody who's staying in contact with the longstanding members.
Yeah,
I almost think of it like a church group, like prayer chains and things like that, where you're staying involved, but maybe we need to be more creative, as you were saying, on the how of that. I mean, again, I don't want to stereotype, but there is that pullback from older generations on technology. You know what I mean? So doing some meetings on Zoom. I mean, I think the whole world is way more comfortable with that now due to, you know, recent events, that maybe that's something that needs to continue, that if they can't leave their houses, we figure out how to do an all Zoom event or something like that to, to maintain those connections with those resources. Because like you said, it is a resource, and we're poorer for it when that intrinsic knowledge kind of walks away.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I
I
think
think
maybe
that's a
that's
great idea. Yeah, making it part of the Chatelain's job is to help
yeah,
connect.
or maybe like a subcommittee of shadowing, so that it's not, all person's not doing like the thing, but it just seems like this the same coin, different side. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, for that, if we're trying to bring in new members, but we're trying not to lose that that long-standing member either. Who's still in love with the SCI.
Right.
As you said, I'm really looking forward. I'm gonna be honest with our audience. I haven't read the essay myself yet. It was just shared with me, so I'm really looking forward to reading that. And if you can find that, you posted that where again, just so we can.
I posted it on Midrealm. I've also this morning posted it on the pages of Kingdom of the West, Kingdom of Trimaris, and Kingdom of Outlands, because that's the ones that I so far have been able to find a way to, casually post something. I had originally hoped to post it to the society page, but I don't have um, a place where I can just go in there and post.
Hmm.
Well, there is the unofficial SCA.
I'll take
There
another
is,
look.
yeah, I'll send you a link to that
Thank
group.
you. Thank you.
But
You
I think
wild
that
kids
would
with your
be,
technology. I mean, just trying to keep up with you.
it's been a long time since anyone called me a kid. Um,
I can call you a kid.
you can call me a kid.
Thank you.
So now that we've brainstormed the solution,
Well, this is exactly what I had hoped to do, and I want to do this with other people is discuss the idea. I'm I will again emphasize I'm not coming in with a pocket full of solutions. There's as many solutions as there are ways to run a kingdom. Um, and uh, it depends on how, people want to do it. But I think at its core, this is an important idea.
I agree.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think step one is underlining the problem. You know what I mean, and letting people know that there is one. Because I mean, I'll be honest, until you said it, that wasn't on my radar.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean? And
mean,
then and then the minute you started talking, I was like, yeah, that makes 100% sense. You know what I mean? Like, so it doesn't
I
come
won't
from a
even blame
malicious
the
place.
I won't even blame the sense of, things um moving quickly because of technology these days and all that. But it is a fact that um we're a volunteer group, and if something if someone isn't present, their absence is noted for a while, and then it's just everyone moves on, especially because you get well, certainly in my local group, which is Barony of the Cloughlands, we get an influx of new people, um, a few at a time, certainly, but the waters are always changing. We're not entirely stagnant. Um, and we keep moving forward. We keep moving on.
Right. But it does help. Someone posted today on the SCA Kingdom of the Middle page that are the premier Duke of the Midrealm, Duke
Yes,
Andrew of Seldom Rest, who passed away many years ago.
yes.
His family donated his library
His
of
son, actually.
original works to
Yeah.
the Midrealm historian. So they've now been cataloged and posted in a database. So this man who's been gone for so long, I never even met him, and I've been in for 33 years, right? And to know that we can go back and read his words and learn more about him is, I think, just as important as it is that we look for new members. We have to remember and treasure our older members as well.
One of the things that semi-informed the creation of the essay, at Penzic 50, they had a history hall of Penzic past. And I sat down with Philip and I said, maybe we should uh, go seek out pictures that people have taken across the years and put together a slideshow. And Philip, being the good and proper peer that he is, looked at me and he said, "That's a great idea. Go do it." I wound up with about 320 photographs. And the oldest picture is a picture from Penzic 1 of the line of archers on the archery field. And right in the middle is Duke Andrew.
Wow.
And you look at that. There was pictures from Penzic 6, from Penzic 10, you know, back when the mid-realm camp was uh, uh, Duke Moonwolf's tent and a couple of chairs, that sort of thing. Um, and you look at that kind of history. Um, you look at those early images, you look at the Freon can helms and what people were wearing as garb and things like that. Um, and it's a long river. It's almost a 60-year long river now of things that we do.
Right.
Hmm.
Well, thank you
And
for writing the essay to
Yeah.
get people to talk about this. And what we
yeah,
need is to have more people talk about it.
yeah. And two, the other thing that hasn't been mentioned yet in this conversation, but it's a simple, brutal fact. Um, Time waits for no man. We all will pass from this veil. Um, and I'd like not to lose all this information. Yeah, that trove of information from Duke Andrew is marvelous. He wrote, and I know of another trove. Um, he wrote a lot down. Not everyone does. So here's this idea. Let's get these people and talk to them and see what they've done. And um, where they found a shortcut, where they found an easier way to do a thing, what their experience was. It's all valid information.
And it's more important today because today the SCA did lose a countess. She did pass away from North Shield. And my friend feed on Facebook is full of pictures of her. I don't remember her name. I did not have the honor of ever meeting her, but all that information in her brain and all that amazing stuff she did is going to live on in story and song, I'm sure. But how wonderful would it be to have her own words somewhere, her own writings that we can look to honor her still.
Drawing the line between your photography and this, do you think again, worrying about people and having they're mellow, what if we, I mean, again, chronicling is hard and writing down what people say, recording and writing and whatnot. Is it behoove us to have like videography of people, record, have them kind of live on through that, if they teach a class, record it. If they, you know what I mean, like those kinds of things, and then having that, when they're not around, in a, at the, I would say probably keep it small at the barony level, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, and have everybody kind of be responsible for their own. But do you think people would be adverse to the idea of something like that? Where we're trying to record that knowledge in the, I don't want to use the word easy, but in the most user friendly medium for most people now.
that's
Um,
entirely valid. Um, if I have a regret, it's not that it's that I've not developed a lot of chops in making videos because it's not just taking the video, it's taking what you've recorded and then editing it up. Um, Maybe it's time for me to start learning that uh, as an extension off of what I'm already doing and encourage other people to help out as well. Um,
What if we did a StoryCorps? What if we took the idea of StoryCorps from NPR and set up a recording booth at Penzic where we just had to record even sound? And I know Master Philip knows an awful lot about AV technology.
Truth there.
What if we set up a recording booth with Hello Cat, set up a recording booth at Penzic or other large wars or other large events? She never does this. So we could have people come to the booth and record their own stories. Hello, Sula. Yes, thank you.
Have you
I mean,
been
I think
washing your
that's a
hair with that
wonderful
catnip shampoo?
I think that's a wonderful idea. I just think because what we're inviting here is people to use skills that don't sound like SCA skills. You know what I mean? Like most people wouldn't think about AV equipment at an event, but I think that there are probably a lot of people throughout the society in their various areas of the known world that have these skills and could make them available and translatable to you know the preservation of this knowledge. You know, and again, I just want to remind everybody we're kind of talking about ideas that you can take and you can run with, and hopefully maybe you have a better one. In which case, if you do, I would say go to the Simply page on Facebook, and we start a discussion about it. And the more people that talk about it, the better. Go to your pages and talk about it. The other thing I don't want to get lost here is we're also talking about reaching out to those people personally who can't make it to events and things like that anymore. So it's not just about the preservation of knowledge, but it's also trying to maintain a relationship with those people. That's really what the essay seems to be about for me. So let's not confuse the two things, but make sure we're talking about them both, parallel.
Yeah.
Nala,
Oh,
your thoughts?
sorry. Mitsula.
Ula. So I said Nala.
Okay, so believe it or not, we only have like 10 minutes left. So I want to talk a little bit about playwriting because that is the other big thing that you're known for in the SCA. How did
Well,
you become a playwright?
the other thing I'm known for in the SCA. Wow. I just figured three people knew. Um, I was doing a bunch of plays with the known world players. I'd always wanted to get in, kind of involved, and I like the fun of the stage. So I've done several things. And sitting backstage during rehearsals, we're being naughty. Yes, we're being naughty. I mean, we're telling jokes and things like that. And occasionally those jokes are punctuated with Zoph yelling, "Hey, quiet back there, we're rehearsing." Um, you don't do that? No, no.
Never.
Um, Never.
I'm very quiet backstage, so I don't know what we're
Absolutely.
talking.
But a couple of us started, riffing that little activity of having fun, and we start taking songs and making little jokes about SCA life through song, popular songs and things like that. And it hit me all at once that we could probably do a review. And I started assembling songs and I reached out to a few friends and I said, "Hey, what kind of fun song do you have from popular music?" And this grew into a show called Forbidden Penzic, the Filk Musical, which went on stage in, I think it was 2007. Um, I had approached Zoph, who I had deep respect for, very serious, deep respect. And I said, "I have this idea. And she looked at me. I think the word is dubious. And I put this before her. It's my it's my love song to all things SCA and Penzic. That's just basically it. Um, it's a person who comes to his first event, um, Penzic. He gets, dragged to Penzic by his girlfriend, who tells him, we're going on a really interesting camping trip, basically. And everything that he experiences and questions is responded to with a filked show tune. So it's all established show tunes in this thing. Um, that year when we did it, we slaughtered over 200 people in the audience, burned down the house. Um, the response was incredible. Um, I've I don't know that I'll ever feel that solid excitement hearing people get all the jokes that we put in. It was also a turning point for me because, as I said to friends later, I wrote an entire script and there were no puns in it. My friends who knew me well were aghast. Who are you? And what became of the person who we knew? Who, by the way, was a different persona at that time. That was a turning point in my life. Um, a dozen years later, I came across a new translation of the Iliad. It was written in a way that made sense to the Western ear. And it had a lot of footnotes, it had a lot of information. And I was reading this having been following the Shakespeare plays, following other plays as well. And I realized that the Iliad could be rewritten as Elizabethan tragedy. How would I set about this? Well, what I did was I inverted the storyline because the original Iliad is all about, according to your high school literature class, it's about the anger of um, Achilles, Achilles' wrath and all that. But Achilles, in this collection of 24 books of poems, Achilles shows up in book one and then disappears until book 18. But there's all this other information about Hector, who is the son of um, the king. He is the eldest son, and all this stuff is happening. And with a lot of background information that I gathered about the history of the Greeks and of uh, the people of the people of Troy and all that, um, I was able to create a fictionalized telling about Hector and what he was dealing with. Um, I got very excited about this play because I felt I was really creating something. And I took it to our ANS festivals, first regional and then Kingdom. Um, I will never forget the moment. Zoph was one of the people who read it. And when it came my turn to speak to a panel of people who had read it, Zoph walks in, and the first thing she said was, I'm going to direct this. Um, could have knocked me over with a hummingbird feather. Um, I needed to make changes. But again, this is what I was talking about, is that there were intelligent people there, and I had help from my friend Ursula Mortimer, who taught me how to write in iambic pentameter. Terrible at languages, but suddenly everything I was doing was coming out in iambic pentameter. So I rewrote much of the dialogue into iambic pentameter to fit an Elizabethan sense. Um, that was performed in 2018. And I had a gentleman come up to me because part of the discussion in the play was about the concept of honor. There was a lot of discussion about what honor was, and I did a lot of research about that because honor is a nebulous thing. And a gentleman came up to me after the show was over. He said he's been struggling to deal with the passing of his mother and his late wife and how to honor their memory. And I helped him get over the hump.
Mm.
You can't ask for higher praise. I've since written another play, which rumor has it may get performed by the known role players in a couple of years. Um, and again, it was serious work. Um, and it's an original piece. I'm very excited about that. It does exist as an online uh, read through, basically, by a number of good friends, Lucas included. Um, and it was during COVID when we were doing everything on Zoom, so we did it as a Zoom read through. Um, it's intact. It's there. It's not perfect. It's not, a full professional performance. We're all sitting in our rooms, but the sense of it is there. And um, I may write something again. I'm not. The muse has been quiet, but we'll see.
Great.
It's unique. It's heady. There's not many people that are writing original stuff um, for SCA. The flip side is that I have tried in many, many places to try and offer it to the mundane audience. Do you know what somebody told me? No one's doing Shakespeare. Bollocks. You see all these Shakespeare festivals. Of course, all they do is Shakespeare, but they're not doing new versions, new storylines based in that Elizabethan period. Um, I haven't stopped trying.
Nice. Uh, I am so sorry to have to say this, but we are almost out of time, believe it or not. We could happily talk for at least another 30 minutes, I know. But we need to wrap up. Did you have any last questions, Lucas?
I mean, yeah, but then we're like you said, we're here for another half an hour. I mean, I having been now involved in two of your projects, I mean, like I have a lot of questions about that process. Do you know what I mean? And I think again, we've said this to a couple guests. I think this behooves a part two, in many ways, and to come back together and
Sure.
to talk about that because I think again, this is another thing, just like the photography. I think this is another thing that people don't realize that they can do in the SCA. You know what I mean? Like the spotlight gets shined on a lot of things, and we'll throw stones at the fighters a lot and say that the SCA is very much this fighters club, and but when you go to the Bardic, you know what I mean? Theater has a weird place in the Bardic. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so again, I just think that there are people out there who have skills like yours, who need to hear about people that use skills like yours and are able to translate them into something that is valued and justice period in the SCA. And so, I mean, I'd love to kind of come back and talk about that. But
All
It
right.
would be an
I'm just,
honor. It would be an honor.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll line something up. All right, last question that we ask all of our guests. What can the SCA do better?
I haven't found something that could do better. I mean, we are constantly struggling and evolving. We're struggling and evolving with, you know, DEI topics. We're struggling and evolving with um, uh, keeping people from leaving. I've known a number of people who have left because they don't like the politics. They don't like this. They don't like that. This is a society, and society is based on human emotion and human interaction. Unfortunately, those emotions and interactions don't always make people comfortable. Um, I personally have, you know, ebbed and flowed in my 30 plus years because of the way I have felt about certain people. Um, but we need perhaps to just keep reminding people how much diversity of activity, of intelligences, of conversations, of activities there are to get involved in. Okay, so you don't like those people who are doing, the sewing. They're all, stuck up people. You don't like the heavy fighters. Go do fencing. Archery is good. If your shoulders have gone out, still do archery. You can do other things and meet still more people. Um, God, there's such a diversity of minds to swim through. And it's delicious. It's just sparkling waters.
Awesome. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for this
Um,
opportunity.
Again, you have been watching Simply SCAdian, no title required, with our special guest Tarmach. This is Zoph, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Good night.
Good night.